Especially if you go to a nightclub later on. He's like, oh, I thought this was a chick.
Right.
Now she's got a dick.
Would you date a trans person?
Yes.
Oh, so hi. Katie here again. So today I want to talk about Jonathan Ross and the the tweet he posted the other day about how much he admires and applauds prolific male transphobic bigot Graham Linehan. So yeah, I mean, and then he actually turned around then and sort of backpedaled a bit and said that he supported trans women. He posted another tweet saying I support trans women. But actually, I mean, if you look back at his decades-long career, transphobic and actually even homophobic jokes as well. I mean, there's like, I mean, a few years ago he aroused a lot of controversy because he made a joke along the lines of, which rested along logic. The logic of it was, if your child turns out to be gay, then you'd be ashamed of the child, embarrassed of the child, and you'd want to give them up for adoption. So yeah, I mean, that just about shows how much of an unreconstructed sort of view Jonathan Ross has of the LGBT community and LGBT people. And he also had to apologize for a joke he made, joke inverted commas, about, well, they were discussing, there was an airline in Thailand who started to, I think that they employed transgender air crew, and so he made this joke about them, you know, referring to them as ladyboys, and he also then made a sexual joke about trans women's private parts. I mean, he did apologize for that one, but yeah, so I mean, how he can come out now with this sort of intellectual shtick and think that we're going to just swallow it hook, line and sinker when he isn't really that much different from the guy who shouts transphobic obscenities towards us outside from a passing van, you know. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of quite typical, really, of a lot of middle class male transphobes who they like to think they're a cut above, like the guy who shouts abuse from a van or from, you know, on a building site. So what they'll do is they'll try and intellectualize their transphobia, and I mean, Linehan is like that as well. I mean, he's kind of made transphobic comedy material in the past, in which, you know, I mean, the most notorious one was where a trans woman was, a woman told her fiance she was trans, and he threw her through a plate glass window and punched her, and that was supposed to be something that we're supposed to laugh at. So yeah, I mean, it's I think as well, you know, there was a interview that Ross did with England cricketer Freddie Flintoff a few years ago, in which they used the, I don't think Ross used the words, but Freddie Flintoff used the derogatory slur beginning with T for us trans folk, and but Ross was kind of laughing at it throughout. You know, he thought it was hilarious.
I've grown up a little bit, but I still like my nights out. Yeah, I go out from time to time. My wife lets me and we go out together, but nothing like what I used to.
Okay, so when you go out on a night without your wife,
It's not as crazy as it used to be. What's the craziest it gets now? What would be a big night?
I go down to the pub with the lads, have a few beers. I had a night out a couple of weeks ago. Went to a place called Madame Jojo's in Soho. Yeah, and it was Tranny Shack night.
Oh, yeah. Tranny what night?
Tranny Shack.
Tranny Shack?
It was transvestite night.
Okay.
It's fantastic. A mate of mine who's here tonight is a makeup artist called Donald. He took us and we went there. And I was intrigued.
Of course you were.
Well, you had some transvestites, and some of them, they go to town, they're dressed to the nines, they got the stilettos, they got the makeup on. And you got other people, full beard, hair, alright mate.
Alright, so I'm wondering about the whole cricket thing. You said that, you know, the need.
But now he's coming along, all of a sudden on his Twitter page, talking about how much of a quote-unquote gender-critical feminist he is, you know? Well, I mean, that's... being a transphobic bigot isn't, you know, it's not an ideology, it's just being a bully. And a lot of what, you know, a lot of what Freddie Flintoff and Ross were sort of like their whole kind of thing that they were talking about on that sort of clip there, that film clip of the interview. A lot of their sort of style of humour is like predicated on the idea that a cis-het male would never want to date a trans woman, that we're at best an embarrassment and at worst sly, malevolent tricksters who trick sort of ordinary, inverted commas, red-blooded cis-het males into having sex with us, and that they're the victim. I mean, a good example of this was the show There's Something About Miriam, because the whole show was built on that premise that a cis-het guy wouldn't want to date a trans woman, that we were repulsive. And I mean, it all kind of falls into this whole narrative of us trans women and transgender, you know, well, mostly transgender women and girls really fitting into that sort of narrative of us being kind of always the butt of someone else's joke. And I kind of grew up like that, really, thinking that, you know, the message society gave me was that I was the punchline in someone else's joke. And I really think, you know, we haven't got beyond that, which is sad. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about, really. I mean, I've included some screenshots of stuff here, some sort of film which I'm going to add throughout the video, but yeah, it's just the nerve of somebody kind of trying to mask this through sort of intellectual pretense, when what it is basically it is blatant, brutal transphobia. I mean, Jonathan Ross doesn't give a flying what's it over transgender women and girls who are persecuted, discriminated against, beaten up, raped and murdered daily, and sexually exploited, you know. I mean, he couldn't care less. He's just jumping on the transphobic bandwagon. And as Paris Lees said, I think it was Paris Lees a couple of days ago, she said, you're going to see a lot more bored transphobes at home now, self-isolating, who've got nothing better to do with their time than to sort of like post transphobic stuff on the internet, or otherwise cyber stalk, harass and bully trans people. So yeah, so I mean, stay safe, folks, from both this horrible virus and also the other sickness, which is transphobia, that we all have to deal with in our lives. I mean, if you've had experiences of men like this, you know, like the Rosses of this world or the Glinners of this world, please let me know, you know. I mean, because I think this is like a kind of thing that affects us all. You know, I mean, I don't have relationships. I don't really date anyone. I've never had a relationship, but even I kind of like get the tail end of that where, you know, I'm given the message that I'm like repulsive and I'm ugly. And as you see in a lot of my comments, it's all about my looks, a lot of it, you know, and how ugly I am and what my teeth are awful and stuff like that. So yeah, so please do share your comments and opinions on this video, and thank you so much for watching. So cheerio and take care. Love you all. Bye.